Let's start with those comments from Donald Tusk. What was your response to that? What was your reaction yesterday?
Well, I think they're quite unfortunate comments and quite sort of badly timed, given the fact that the British Prime Minister is going to be meeting with Mr. Tusk and with the Commission at least this morning. But I think it's very tense. Everything's very tense, and it's understandable that feelings are frayed and people are using strong language. I think this is not particularly diplomatic language from Mr. Tusk. I don't think it's particularly helpful language, but we have to understand that we're getting pretty close to the wire here. And if the UK has to leave the European Union without a deal, there are some serious things that the UK will have to do. And I think what we're starting to see, and the tensions we're starting to see, are realizations of what that means. And what it will have to mean. Liam Fox, the Secretary of State for International Trade, yesterday talked about no-deal planning. In order to control food price inflation, for example, we'd have to zero the tariff on agri-food on a unilateral basis. So European farmers would suddenly face a dramatic loss of market share in the UK market from day one. And this is very, very tense stuff. And so you're going to expect a lot of brinkmanship, and you're going to expect a lot of, strong language in the lead up to this.
I want to take a look at the sentiment behind what Donald Tusk was saying, because you're right, the language definitely was provocative. The sentiment behind is essentially that the Leave campaign won on a promise that no government nor the campaign could really deliver on, i.e. this idea that the UK could leave the EU, but without surrendering the benefits, essentially, of a single market. Now, the Brexit plan that your think tank published makes leaving the UK look quite easy. But if it is as easy as that, why is it that 3 Brexit secretaries, one of whom actually supports your plan, haven't been able to pull it off?
Well, one of the problems we've had from the beginning has been the negotiating mandate of the EU here, which I think the British government made a mistake in accepting. You have this sequencing where we talk about the trade relationship between the parties at the very end of the process, and that doesn't make any sense. We should have been talking about the trade arrangement at the beginning. One of the reasons we're in this problem with the border on the in the island of Ireland is because it's impossible to be able to come up with sufficient progress on the border arrangements on the island of Ireland, which was the original language of the mandate, unless you know what the final arrangement between the EU and the UK is going to be. And the fact that we've not been able to have that discussion, and that is something that you have to lay at the feet of the European Commission, not the British government. The British government, I think, made a mistake in accepting the sequencing. We should never have done that. But
I think the EU... Sorry to interrupt you, we're running out of time, but I think the EU would say that the withdrawal agreement was all settled, and it's now the UK that wants to revisit this Northern Irish issue. There's not a huge amount in your proposal on the Northern Irish border. There will still need to be a solution. Can you outline what that will be, which isn't vague technological solutions?
Yeah, but this has nothing to do with technology. I think this is actually what we have suggested, and we've been suggesting these kinds of solutions, frankly, for the last year and a half. This is not a new suggestion. What you need to do in order to solve the Irish border is quite straightforward. What you have to do is figure out what the permanent relationship is going to be between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland, and you have to reverse engineer from that. That's the only thing that makes sense. If indeed the goal here is no infrastructure on the Irish border, no checks anywhere in Northern Ireland, the only way of accomplishing that is for Northern Ireland to remain in the customs union, and that is not going to be feasible. That is not going to pass the House of Commons, as we've seen with the huge vote against the withdrawal agreement. So let's be sensible about this. The goal here is no physical infrastructure on the border, and checks and so forth away from the border through inland in-facility clearance, and we have a number of using existing administrative techniques that are used all over the world.
I mean, I think I'm really